What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's here. This is it. This is the last one. It kind of brings a tear to my eye. Kind of brings a tear to my eye that this will be the last family best ball draft of the year that we're doing live. We're going to try and sneak in one more slow draft if possible, but this is it. This is the last one. And of course, if we're going to have the last family best ball draft, we got to go out with family. Joining me today, Fantasy Alarm's own Dan Malin in the house. Dan, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Last Underdog best ball draft, but it's actually the first one for me this year.
I
We
know.
were talking before we even went live, and I told you like every draft I've done over 200 drafts for best ball, and they've all been slow drafts. And so this one is out of my element for sure. I'm going to try and keep up. I know I don't have too much time to look at the board, see how everyone else is building out their combinations and stacks, but yeah, very excited. Glad I was able to get in on at least one of these.
Yes, and it's not only are you doing your first one, but you're doing it live on the microphone. So it's another
Yes.
art that Howard and I have screwed up and figured out and then screwed up over and over again. So let's get it kicked off. Let's see where we're picking. The chat's popping here. We got Crockett Martin in the house. Cornelius Harrington, I believe, joining us for his first slow draft of the year. Scooter Worldwide. Have you drafted with us before? Either way, thanks for popping in. Jerry Nelson in the house. Rex Timotheus, as always. And Dunn in the house today. And I tried to get you in this one. Check your DMs on Discord from time to time. All right. Ani Coop in the house. Shout out Ani Coop. What's popping? Angie's here. Quinn's in the house. What's going on? Quinn has a question. Everyone today, make sure if you have questions for a draft coming up this week, get them in the chat. We'll hit them. We'll answer them. So what do you think about Achane third round? I'm totally for it. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah. Anytime you can get a high upside player like Achan, more than happy to take him. I've been happy taking him in the second round. If it's best ball related, very happy there. Third round, very happy there. If this is a season long question, yeah, like I'm still okay with it. Like we're going to talk about like, the big thing with him is going to be he can't be nearly as efficient as he was a year ago. And even if that's the case, you have to imagine there's more volume available to him. And we saw him pop off, have monster games, and so I am a believer and a buyer into Devon Chan.
If he was as efficient as he was and he had a full-time job and kept that efficiency, he'd run for like 5,000 yards. Like it
For
was,
sure.
it's just not realistic. So, but he can still be awesome. We've seen guys go from part-time roles where they were super efficient to full-time roles where they were less efficient because now you're running the ball on 3rd and 1, right? But you're still very good. Like Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler, prime examples. When they were part-time backs operating in space, running for like 6 yards a carry, awesome. Then when they had to be the guy that scores on a 1st and goal from the 1 yard line, that actually hurts your yards per carry. So
Coop, you're on the clock.
You got to keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm on the clock. Here we go. Boards up. Christian McCaffrey off the board. This draft, I'm just going to be getting my guys. That's my plan for this one. Since this one is half PPR, I'm going to take Bijan Robinson here. I just want to take him. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So here's who we got drafted with us today. If you're just joining us for the first time, where the heck you been all summer long? We've been doing these every Wednesday for quite some time, but I mean, Dan Malin's just joining us for the first time. So either way, welcome in the people that have been with us all year and the people just joining now. What we're doing is a 12-team best ball draft, $5 entry. It's me, Malin, and Fantasy Alarm members. All right. If you want to get in with these and draft with us and hang with us, get yourself an all-pro membership at fantasyalarm.com right now. Okay. Use promo code Let's Go. You'll get 50% off the first month, or you can get 40% off the entire year if you sign up now. So go check that out. And that's how you get in the Discord, and that's how you get in these drafts. If people are wondering, how come I don't get to draft with Coop and Howard and Malin? It's because you're not part of the family, and you got to be part of the family to get in these drafts. So here we go. The draft order is Jay Breezy, myself, our guy B Coates, who has had recently had his first one. Now he's a regular. Malin at 4, the Hamburglar, the quickest gun in the West in terms of joining these drafts. It's incredible.
Oh my God.
When I say, okay, first come, first serve, after we try and get new people in, I say first come, first serve. Hamburglar, Icy Through, Jack Straw, Crockett Martin, CDM 82. Those guys are quick. We got Voiko in here,
because
another
they got
regular.
notification set and all that, so like they're just excited to get in here.
They're quick, dude. They're quick. It's crazy. We do have. I did save some spots for some first-time players with us. They're going to get their first badges in the Discord. That's what we do. If you play with us, you get a badge. If you win, you get another badge. If you win a couple, you get the trophy that only Jack Henson has. And then as you go, as you win more, we're going to do more badges. It's going to be really cool. So 3 magic number drafting with us for the first time. What's happening? I'm your neighbor. That is Weapon X in the Discord. Thanks for popping in. We have Russell. So I'm not sure if Kevin Russell has drafted with us before. If you're in the chat, let me know. But thanks for joining us either way. I'll have to double check the info there. Same with Scooter Worldwide. I think it might be Cornelius Harrington's first time as well. So and then it's also another new guy, Oriquasuavio. That's a finger
Suave.
Yeah, Rico Suave. Oh, okay, there it is. Good job with that one. He's Finger Puppet Mafia on the Discord. So, Mel, I know you've been drafting a lot on a lot of best ball and also a lot of DraftKings. You seeing anything different in this first round than what you typically see, or is that basically the chalk?
Jonathan Taylor went a little bit earlier. It's weird. The newer drafts that I've joined lately, I'm seeing Jonathan Taylor go in the mid to late second round a lot. I'm also seeing Breece Hall and Bijan go regularly in the top 3 picks. I do see that you took Bijan with the second overall pick here. Even when I've had a lot of top 5 picks lately, I've been kind of taking Breece Hall. I just think he has that CMC kind of upside. So if I'm missing out on CMC, I can take Hall because they gave him 37 touches last year, I think, in the final game of the regular season. And
let's go.
If that's the kind of volume that they can foresee for him, I'll jump all over that.
And I've
upgrade an offensive line too.
I've got a stat with Breece Hall that last year. I've been sharing this one on the channel for those just joining us. It's a stat that I've kind of repeated a few times, but Breece Hall led the league in screens last year for running backs with 30 screens. That's nearly 2 free receptions a game. The year before that, it was Aaron Jones that led the league in screens, catching passes from Aaron Rodgers. And the year before that, it was Aaron Jones again. So with Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Jones and Breece Hall, you better believe there's going to be at least 1 screen every game. I mean, it's just part of what they do. It's part of the way Aaron Rodgers audibles and navigates. So be ready for that. You're on the clock here. First round, you went with CeeDee Lamb. Who'd you just take here in the
Nico Collins, a pair of wide receivers from the lovely state of Texas. I'm more than happy to take CeeDee Lamb 4th overall. He earlier this offseason in best ball drafts, he was going 1st, 2nd, 3rd overall. If I can get him 4th overall, I'm happy with that. Nico Collins is one of my heaviest rostered players in best ball. I love that in the 2nd round. I know that there are some concerns about what they're going to do, feeding 3 mouths, but Nico Collins can just generate such great separation, and he's going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. I love the Houston offense. I'm fine with taking the Diggs and Dell a couple rounds later, but Nico Collins is going to be my guy out of Houston.
Yeah. I mean, he's the big split end. That's the thing, is the question is who's going to be out for goal line and 2 wide receiver sets, but it's not going to be Nico, right? Like, you don't take the 6'4", 220-pound guy out, right?
No, you keep that guy in there, man.
You keep him in. So just now we allowed Jay Breezy to get Christian McCaffrey and Cooper Kupp and Malik Neighbors on the swing. I was really hoping one of those guys would come back to me. But, it is what it is. I'm drafting my guys here. I'm big on Devonta Smith, so that's who I'm going to go with. In the chat, and we love you. And says, don't forget to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe. It does us. I consider that a personal favor, to be honest. Like, I know the best way to support us is buying a draft guide or buying a membership or whatever. That if you truly enjoy the content, you're doing yourself a favor and you're helping us by doing that. But if you just hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, come over from Twitter and watch on YouTube. Like, that means a lot to us and helps us out. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you, Ann. You rock. Rowdy.
Oh, I'm on the block. Oh, I missed. I completely whipped. Okay, I'll take Kyron.
Who'd you get? See?
Kyron Williams. See, this is what I'm talking about. when I'm only doing slow drafts, like the 30 seconds just creeps up on me.
It gets you, man. It sneaks up on you. Now, Kyron Williams, the thing is, people, are taking this punt comment, I think, a little too far. I made a joke about it, that he's going to be returning punts. But, I mean, the reality of punts is that you only return so many. Like, a lot of it is fair catches and stuff like that. I mean, does it worry you? It does worry me a little bit. Does it worry you enough to move him down like a full round, though?
I mean, I've been taking him in the second round, so if I can get him in the third round, I'm very happy with that.
Right.
Just a very explosive player. My opinion of Kyron hasn't really changed too much. I just don't understand why, you would probably put him at a little more risk for injury. But he's still a big playmaker. They did draft another guy who's kind of like a carbon copy of Kyron Williams with Blake Corum. Still love it, though. Like, fourth pick of the third round, I'm happy with that value. And if he slipped simply because of like the punt return news, then I'll take advantage of that. Yeah. Even if it was an auto pick.
I do. That thing is, I need him to slip a little bit. I do worry that Blake Corum could mix in some, but on the same token, when they do draft a guy that does all the same things, sometimes that just means that guy is going to be the backup and the other guy continues to work on 3 downs. So it could, Kyron Williams could just be a great value. I mean, it's same when you look at the reports from the Cardinals, that's basically what they're saying. Like, the beat writers are all saying, hey, Trey Benson is the guy of the future, because they like what they have in James Conner. So they just went and got a guy as similar to James Conner as possible. So the people expecting Trey Benson to produce right away could be a little disappointed, but that's the plan. He's the heir apparent to that throne, versus what scares me a lot of times is when they go out and draft a complementary piece, right, Malin? When they go out and say, okay, this guy's good at running, let's draft someone that's good at pass catching. And then now it's a split. And then who does well depends on whether the team's winning or the team's losing. That's when I get a little scared, right? Like, the direct backup is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
at least for the Rams, if something were to happen to Williams, they can just basically insert Blake Corum and expect the offense to just hum along as it was before.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now let's talk tight ends here. I always, as the tight ends guy, I'm always interested in what people are doing at tight end. As somebody that's done 200 best ball drafts, do you often find yourself taking Laporta or Kelsey? So there's basically in the tight end one range, there's basically 3 tiers at the top that is developed. There's the Laporta and Kelsey tier.
Yep.
There's the Kincaid, McBride, Andrews tier. And then there's the Pitts, Ingram, Kittle tier. And they kind of go in different orders, but they kind of stay in their tiers. Before giving me a name, which bucket do you prefer to draft from? 1, 2, or 3?
I've typically, if I had to guess on I know which player specifically I'm heaviest on, but if I had to pick from one of those 3 tiers, it's tier 2, because usually with my first 3 or 4 picks, I've been taking 3 wide receivers. And if I can land on one of those tier 2 players, or even tier 3, I'm happy to do so. And there's one particular quarterback tight end combination that I'm very heavy on in a lot of my drafts.
Okay.
So
I think I know what that is.
Yeah, you probably do.
I'm not gonna. Let's not mention it because we're in the middle of a draft. But I think I have a pretty good idea what that might be. So we'll keep that. We'll keep that close to the chest. If you had in that third, actually, you know what? We'll get to that when we get to it, because we don't want to give too many spoilers on the live draft. Let me ask you the same question, honestly, because it's very similar at quarterback. We have the Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, bingo bango, and then you have that second group that is, Lamar, Mahomes, CJ Stroud or so, and then it gets a little murky after that. Do you ever find yourself drafting Allen or Hurts, or are you hanging tight there too?
Early on, I was
You're on the clock, actually.
All good. But early on, I wasn't taking a lot of Josh Allen. I just didn't like taking the first quarterback off the board. But with that said, I've taken him more in a lot of my $3.20 max contests on DraftKings. Been trying to stack him appropriately with like Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman a little bit. But my heaviest rostered quarterback is probably off the board soon anyway. But yeah, like, I haven't really been taking too many of Hurts or Allen. I've had a lot of Patrick Mahomes, simply because I do believe that despite this team winning the Super Bowl last year, I think they still left a bit of a sour taste in the mouths of fantasy owners, because they were 14th in points last year, but that team can easily regress towards the positive and be another top 3 offense where they're putting up 28 to 35 points on a weekly basis. So I've been really trying to buy low, especially early on in my drafts on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean that offense will be so good. I mean, here's the question right now. I mean, B. Coates has an opportunity to get a nice little tight end stack situation here. I think I'm going to allow him to do it if he wants to do it. I'm not going to force the issue here, but just know B. Coates that I thought about it. We have a question in the chat, and it comes from the Twitch gang. So throwing on the old Twitch glasses for the Twitch gang. Jax Rez over on Twitch. Again, we're cool with people hanging on Twitch. If you're on Twitter, come on over to YouTube or go over to Twitch. He wants to know, you're on the clock, Malin, Nico Collins or Drake London? And I know you took Nico earlier, but I think Drake was already gone.
I would 100% take Nico Collins. I don't really have many bad things to say about Drake London. My big concern is that, it's a big quarterback upgrade and it works for Kyle Pitts as well. But for Drake London, I just get a little worried sometimes about his lack of production after the catch. He's very good at dropping his hips. He can get open, but it's just I haven't really seen too much, especially last year, of like what he can do once he gets the ball in his hands. It just seems like he would catch the ball and then he would be down 2 yards later most of the time.
Right.
So for me, I'm just speaking to my own exposure and just of how highly I think of Nico Collins, and so I would lean him.
Well, see, that's the thing is that's actually part of why I'm in on Drake London is that I think that this year he will have higher quality targets, which gives him a better opportunity to get some of that yak. The thing is, the downside is there's an example of what the downside is, which is DK Metcalf. He had that one good yak year, and since that, he's been that kind of catch and go down guy, which is the difference between A.J. Brown. If you look at the numbers, the difference between A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf is that A.J. Brown breaks tackles and gets that yak, and DK Metcalf does. Everything else actually kind of matches up in terms of ADOT, target share, everything. That's been the big difference. So it is a concern. Drake London last year, he led the league in contested catches, and I think a big part of that was the quality of targets. That the ball was just being chucked up to him, and it was not a good pass in stride. So he's having to make tough catches. I'm hoping the catches will be easier this year. But with Nico Collins, we already know that the quarterback's good and that he's not coming off a torn Achilles tendon. So I could see that. I don't know. I just see after watching Justin Jefferson with Kirk Cousins all these years, there is upside there. We can admit that. Right? Yeah. But it's a question of it's like, well, we're hoping that Drake London becomes Nico Collins. Why not just draft Nico Collins?
Sure. I think my other concern just regarding Kirk Cousins, it's like he's definitely a guy that does need to be able to stand in the pocket, plant his foot. He can't run and scramble. He can't do, obviously at his age, he can't do the Patrick Mahomes things where he can run sidearms and stuff. Can't really create too much on his own with his legs, especially coming off a torn Achilles. That there is some concern, obviously, of re-aggravating the injury. That's why they drafted Michael Penix Jr., who I can't believe didn't play last week at all.
Crazy.
But it's like Kirk has a great offensive line in front of him this year, which does play to his strengths. But he really does need to get just a perfect read and just a clean pocket to deliver the right pass. And I think he can do that this year with this offensive line. But I'm also like a little concerned about how is he at 100% is basically what it boils down to.
Right, because he was already a zero in terms of mobility, and now he's going to be a statue. So yeah, I do worry a little bit about that. I mean, if he's himself, then the ball will be flying all over, but yeah, it could be scary. And in terms of Michael Penix not playing, somebody pointed out to me that once upon a time, Arthur Blank saw Michael Vick go down with a horse collar tackle before the horse collar was illegal in the preseason, and he broke his leg. And ever since then, I guess Arthur Blank his policy has been like, if somebody's already made a roster spot, his policy is basically the preseason's for tryouts. Like you're trying out for a spot. If you already have a spot, then don't put those guys in there. And I think he basically said like, okay, you know what? Michael Penix is the QB2. He doesn't need to try out for that spot. So I think might be the case. Cornelius Harrington said he had to hop on his laptop. He hops on his laptop, gets in here and steals my guy Chris Godwin with his very next pick.
You're big on Godwin this year?
I'm big, man. I wrote an article on it. You're on the clock, by the way.
Yes, I am.
My short and sweet on Godwin is that he last year led the team in targets, led the team in receptions, despite having a neck injury and also dealing with some and also sorry, I'm on the clock here.
No, you're good, brother.
The neck injury and also dealing with some a knee issue towards the end of the year. He still led the team in receptions. Also, they had him playing outside. He played 600 snaps out wide, only 300 in the slot. The year prior, it was the opposite. He played 600 in the slot, 300 out wide. This new offensive coordinator, it says that he's going to move him back into the slot. And this OC is Liam Cohen, who comes over from the Rams. So he's had plenty of experience with Cooper Kupp playing slot and then moving outside for 3 wide receiver sets. I just think it's kind of a perfect setup for him in terms of the floor is already fine and the ceiling is now higher. So I'm doing a lot of Godwin. I did a video earlier where I basically said in your hometown leagues, you can start running back, and then draft Devonta Smith, Chris Godwin, and one other guy who is not off the board yet. Maybe he is.
You're on the clock now.
He's already off the board. Deontay Johnson. Like, I wouldn't mind having those 3 guys as my 3 wide receivers. So I don't know. Have you drafted any guy when you've been out on him?
Honestly, been out. I don't have a ton of exposure to the Bucks. It's not like I'm overrating the departure of Dave Canales. Really, it's just I haven't liked the ADP, especially early on that Godwin's going out. I have some Baker and Evans stacks. I am taking Jackson Smith and Njigba because I was robbed of DK Metcalf earlier. But overall, not a ton of exposure to the Bucks, except the rookie running back Irving. I can't think of his first name right now, but
Bucky, yeah.
Yes, I have taken a lot of him later on, just because I think that there's a fair chance that he does surpass what Rashad White on the depth chart, especially later on in the season.
Yeah.
I
could definitely see Bucky Irving get like right away carving out a pass catching role because he had a season in college where he caught like 50 balls, right? Yeah. Like this guy definitely has some pass catching chops. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is there is a world where Baker regresses because number one, Drake London was first in contested catches. Number 2 and 3 in terms of contested targets were Evans and Godwin, and they were both top 5 in contested catches. That's kind of a dicey game. Just huck it, chuck it like that. The other thing is now teams have tape on him as a Buccaneer, and we saw with Geno Smith. First year, nobody really knew him. No one knew his tendencies. Next year, everyone's got tape. Everyone's seen him twice, and then now teams kind of are, they pick. It's funny how the teams can pick up on different like tails and stuff. Yeah. The littlest things, like having one of your feet back farther than the other one when it's play action or pass plays or things like that. They have teams of people scouring looking for this stuff. So that's why for a lot of these players, the sophomore slump can be real. If your rookie year, you're getting away with using one move that people haven't seen yet, just got to be careful with that. So question in the chat here, Rex Timothy is asking, why did 3 Magic Number draft both Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson? That is there's a balance between best player available, which for me, Anthony Richardson at that point probably was the best player available, but he already has Josh Allen. So is that something you'd ever do? Take 2 quarterbacks in the top
5? Probably not, just because you're not going to get them both in your lineup every week, obviously. Yeah, especially if I'm taking a stud quarterback early on, like a Josh Allen, I kind of operate as if he's going to finish the season as the QB1, and I'm going to ride him most weeks. A quarterback that I might, pair with him later on would be someone like maybe a Geno Smith that you can get outside, the first 10 rounds, maybe Matthew Stafford. It does feel like you're kind of throwing away a pick. Now, granted, you're probably going to get a great score at quarterback every single week with Josh Allen and Anthony Richardson. But, if they're both popping off for 25 to 28 points, only one of them is going to crack your lineup. And, you could have used that second pick or that earlier pick to get a player at another position that probably also makes your lineup every week.
Yeah, to some degree it's wasted real estate. But the thing is, if you just crush all your picks, then it doesn't matter, Right. So it is interesting. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how the rest of this draft goes for who was it that did that? 3 Magic Number. This is his first one with us, I believe, as well. Derek, who his team is I'm Your Neighbor here, picking from the 9 spot, says that he got sniped. He wanted Alvin Kamara. I'm high on Alvin Kamara to the point that it is upsetting people. What's your take on Kamara? What do you think his ceiling is?
I like Kamara from where he's going at ADP, especially any kind of like full PPR format, because we saw last year he could go out and
Crazy.
catch, 8 to 12 catches in a game. And it doesn't even matter if it's only for like, 40, 45 yards. Like that production alone is probably going to, make him a solid, like top 20 running back. I have concerns about the Saints offense. I'm not entirely sold that it's going to be even a top half of the league offense. I think it's going to be one of the worst. But in terms of volume, how many times he's going to touch the ball and catch passes out of the backfield, and the fact that Dennis Allen seems to hate Kendrick Miller more than that. I love Kamara where he's going at his 80.
Hates Kendrick Miller, dude. It's crazy. For those that haven't seen it, all summer long he's been like, this guy, if he doesn't even know the playbook because he's been hurt, right? He's like, I don't even know if he's going to make the team because he hasn't played. And then he did technically make the team because they put him on IR, so he'll miss the first 4 games of the season on the PUP. They didn't put him on season-ending IR, did they? There's 2 IRs right now, folks. There's the PUP list. That means you miss minimum 4 games, and then there's actually, I think there's 3. There's PUP list that makes you miss 4 games. There's IR, which uses one of those IR eligibilities, but you can come back twice. And then there's reserve IR, which means your season's done. AJ Dillon was placed on reserve IR. His season's over. He cannot come back. And unfortunately, that's based on a neck injury from last year, which is kind of scary. You hate to see that, but so definitely double check the type of IR that these players are on before you draft them, because for some of these guys, it means they cannot come back and play.
Did you acknowledge Elijah Mitchell at all right there? I'm sorry.
Elijah Mitchell, he was placed on season-ending IR as well
for the hamstring injury that they said he aggravated terribly on Monday, and so
season-ending is wild.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a few of those guys. Definitely take a look at that to see if it's worth taking these guys.
Oh God.
Yeah, no, I was taking Brian Thomas anyway.
Cool.
He was already at the top, but I was just kind of scrolling real quick to see if there's anybody I wanted instead of him. And I let him get I almost took Jaden Daniels to go with the double mobile stack, but I don't love doing that. For instance, well, let's wait until he gets back. There's a few guys now. We're getting more info because, like, now when they do the roster cuts, you have to kind of be honest about who's hurt, who's not, what they're going to do, what they're going to be. So in this range, there's some guys that are a little banged up. I'm taking Chase Brown here. But I don't mind. For you, if you were on the clock and they were both available, would you take Chase Brown or Zach Moss?
Chase Brown.
Yeah.
I just think we know enough about Zach Moss, and he was a very good, productive player last year. I do love targeting these ambiguous backfields that have a lot of questions, especially like a running back I'm about to take right now.
Jalen Warren. See, I thought about it, but the hamstring concerns me a little bit. The hamstring.
It does. Full health, though. I can't deny what he's capable of.
Yeah,
especially with Arthur Smith coming over as the OC.
Yeah, and he's proof, right? We've been saying this for years with the guys like Phillip Lindsay and Dameon Pierce, that if you cannot pass block, they will put somebody else in there because you cannot let the quarterback get hit. And it's not just about physical ability. In a lot of these schemes, it's a counting system, right? The linemen and the backs need to be on the same page because you're looking at the linemen, you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those guys are all numbered. And if they move around, the numbers change. And you can know in your mind, I am responsible for player number 3, right? So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they would move around. You got to know who 3 is. And if you can't figure that out, which some of these guys can't, you're not going to play. And we've seen it time and time again. That's one of the biggest reasons that some of these guys get replaced. So Jalen Warren is incredible at it. There's no question he's one of the best. He's hitting people so hard that they're finding him. That's how good he is. Like, they're like, dude, you got to settle down. You got to relax. So he'll always have that role. I do like Warren a lot. The thing is, Najee Harris is a good player too. Never not ran for 1,000 yards. So I don't mind either of them, honestly.
I love Najee too because, a year ago when he's probably going in the top 4 rounds, from that perspective, you don't love it. But here we are getting the exact same player who is going 5, 6 rounds later. If you can get him in that zone, you got to assess the player relative to the EDP. So it's like, yeah, he wasn't worth it a year ago. But if you're getting that kind of production out of a player that's going in the middle of the rounds, take it. And there are probably some drafts where I've taken both Najee Harris and Jalen Warren.
I don't mind doing that with certain teams. If you believe it, and honestly, I'm probably higher on the Steelers offense than most because I don't mind Russell Wilson. I think he can run the offense. I think Arthur Smith if he has the right personnel and the right setup, that offense, we've seen it produce players with the Titans. I mean, Ryan Tannehill was QB7, right? And Derrick Henry was obviously awesome, and AJ Brown was pretty good. Like, he wasn't what he is with the Eagles, but he was okay. So I wouldn't rule that completely out. Plus, Arthur Smith obviously loves his tight ends, so I wouldn't rule it out entirely that maybe that team's pretty good. Same thing with obviously the David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I'll take them both, dude.
Yeah.
I'll take them both. Last year we were covering a $10,000 buy-in FFPC draft, and one of the guys, that's some stakes, that's some skin, right? One of the guys took Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery back to back as at the swing on the way back from the first pick as his RB1 and 2.
He probably did pretty well.
He did do really well. But $10,000 buy-in, man, that guy has some stones, bro. Yeah. That's probably not his only $10,000 team. So I don't know. We've seen it before. Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara, 2017. Mark Ingram was RB7. Alvin Kamara was RB3. So it's entirely possible. We had a couple questions in the chat. Rex Timothy is asking, what do you think about Rashee Rice in the 4th round, Malin? So we're kind of seeing that most of the Twitter lawyers, God bless them, are saying that
he's not being suspended this year.
It's unlikely he gets suspended. So 4th round, is that about right for you, or do you prefer Worthy or Hollywood where they go?
I would probably take Rice just because he has the established connection with Patrick Mahomes from last year. Came on strong. Very slow start last year, but very good finish to the 2023 campaign. Hollywood Brown's injury, he's unlikely to play week 1, right?
Yeah, it's like so it was like a really gross kind of chest injury where
same thing happened to Tyreek Hill a few years ago, I think.
Exactly. And the problem with those injuries is that if you've ever broken a rib, like, it's bad, but just as bad is when you mess up that cartilage in between there. It hurts like crazy. And if you sneeze, it's like the end of the world. So those rib cartilage injuries are tough because, like, it turns into a pain tolerance thing, and the pain is so bad. So we'll have to see when he makes it back. But I mean, that stinks for a guy that has had the injury prone label. This injury isn't really his fault,
Yeah.
So somebody else in the chat, I'm on the clock here, so let me just make my pick. Somebody in the chat had a question, and you can uniquely answer it because you just drafted Rico Dowdle. So does Dowdle lose value now that they've signed Dalvin Cook?
No, I saw somebody else in our own Discord ask the same question. I don't really think so, especially coming on this late in the year. It feels like it's just for depth. If you want to take a flyer, I got to queue up somebody for this team.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Dalvin Cook is that, like, we know how his season is going to end with that same shoulder injury that has ended his season. I'm not even kidding. He's shown up on the injury report 6 different times. His season, it's been a season-ending injury 5 different times. Whether it's a torn labrum or an AC joint, he has this shoulder. And have you ever seen pictures of Keenan Allen's shoulder? Like, that's what happens in football. Like, if you're lowering your pads over and over and over again, your shoulders, man, it is no good. So that's the problem with Dalvin Cook, is that he can get out there, he can play, but he cannot take extended multiple hits over and over and over to that shoulder. You know what I mean? It's just at this stage. I mean, going back to 2014 when he first heard it, Malin, in a freak accident too.
Yeah,
he was in the weight room, and he was walking up the stairs, and he fell. And he landed on his, like, with his hands all the way extended like this, all the way out, and it jacked his shoulder up.
Ooh.
And since then, he's hurt that same shoulder 5 different times. How crazy is that?
Yeah, that's wild. Especially because these guys play football. You know, whenever we talk about injury-prone players and things like that, that's a freak accident, but it's also, you know, we anticipate so many things could happen on the field that we don't really anticipate.
That when it happens like that,
that they're humans and like anything. Like Mark Andrews a couple weeks ago was in a car accident. You know, he's going to be fine, but at the same time, like, you know, a little banged up, probably a little sore, but like there are still concerns about that, especially because he had an injury last year that was completely irrelevant to the car accident.
Right. Well, we don't know. I mean, what happens because he had the high ankle sprain. I mean, you never know with those car accidents what kind of got shook up. I mean, they're not going to tell us. So
right.
I don't know. He hasn't practiced since then either. I'm hoping he gets back soon.
I mean, they play what, next Thursday?
I mean, if he doesn't practice at all, I might have to move him down, honestly. Going in, if he doesn't practice by the end of this week, I don't know. I really can't rank him as high. I have him ranked like 1 in most formats, honestly. Because I love Mark Andrews. I think he's great value at ADP. But like if he's hurt, then we got to consider that. There's too many good options, in my opinion, to have to deal with that.
Because we alluded to this like earlier in the draft when things got started, but Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews are by far my heaviest quarterback pass catcher stack that I have.
I knew that was your stack. Yeah, me too.
Because you can just get them so close together, and so basically your first three or four picks can just be, you can target elite top tier running backs, wide receivers, and then you still get a good correlation play with Lamar and Andrews. And if you've got a couple Texans in that lineup as well, you've got a nice little Week 17 stack.
Yeah. Ann's liking your draft so far. Hit us with a quick recap for those that are just kind of listening and hanging out with just how you've gone through so far.
Well, started not Kyron Williams. I started CeeDee Lamb, first overall pick, came back with Nico Collins. Auto-drafted Kyron Williams, which I'm actually okay with because he is one of my favorite running backs on the board. Did a Week 17 correlation. I apologize because I am approaching this as if I'm in like a larger tournament for best ball.
That's I always draft similarly. You're coming up on the clock here, so I'll take it over. You went Trey McBride, Jalen Hurts, and then you've already had – I like what you did here because you already had a couple rock-solid guys in CeeDee Lamb and Nico Collins. So you said, okay, upside time, right? Rome Odunze, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Xavier Worthy, right? If you already have a couple rock-solid guys, why not shoot for the moon? And then I'll hand it back to you here with the running backs because I'm on the phone.
Yeah, and a lot of time with a lot of my picks, I was still looking at like Week 17 correlation. I missed it getting DK. I think in round 3. I think it went right before I took Kyron Williams, but I do get to come back. I take JSN with that, and I compare him with Rome Odunze as well. Running backs, obviously, I took my time taking my RB2. But I can go forward with Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdle, Zach Charbonnet, who was also part of that Week 17 game against Chicago. And I took the upside play with Jalen Wright. And I know I don't have any stacks or any pieces of the Philadelphia offense, but Jalen Hurts can create on his own with his legs, gets the tush push for the touchdown, and I can at least say that I'm stacking him with CeeDee Lamb for that Week 17 matchup as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'm on the clock here. I think everyone hates this pick. Everyone hates this pick, but I find myself making it a decent amount. Jerry Jeudy. I mean, there's a world where the QB4 all time in points per game, with just over 20 points per game on average for his career, Deshaun Watson, comes back from his shoulder injury and scapula issue, and he's pretty good. And last year, quietly, he was scoring 18 points per game, so he wasn't that far off. I know it didn't look pretty. I know he had to cobble together a couple of rushing touchdowns to make it happen, but, I mean, there's a world where this guy could be pretty good. And he likes to look downfield. He really did not target David Njoku as much as the backups did. So this world where Jerry Jeudy actually ends up being a pretty good fit for him. Elijah Moore was one of the least efficient wide receivers in the league. By my count, the least efficient wide receiver to get 100 targets, and it wasn't even close. So I think Judy's got some potential there. I mean, maybe he's a complete bust, and Steve Smith Jr. is right that he's soft or whatever, but I don't know. I'm looking around in these parts of the draft, and I'm saying who could even possibly be a top 2 target on them. It's not going to be Jahan Dotson on the Eagles.
No.
It's not going to be, it's like, but there's some guys out there. There certainly are. But when I start saying, okay, because think about last year. Let's think about Tank Dell. How did we get Tank Dell? we had a quarterback that was going off the board at QB 28 in CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Rightfully so, because he was a rookie and the Texans hadn't been a good franchise for quite some time. And then there was also some uncertainty as to who would be the number 1 and number 2 and number 3 target on the team. Some people thought it would be John Mechie. Some people thought it would be Robert Woods. Some people thought it would be Nico Collins. Turns out it was Nico Collins and Tank Down. And that's kind of how you found that guy. It was a good quarterback in an uncertain situation. And I look at situations like that and I say, okay, it's going to be Amari Cooper, and then it's either going to be Njoku or Jerry Jeudy. And maybe this quarterback can be good. That's kind of the path to upside that I'm trying to dig into here. And there's a lot of that around the league. I mean, you look at the teams like the Patriots. I mean, if you had to pick a rookie quarterback other than Caleb Williams and Jane Daniels to be good, to kind of take that job, who would you go for?
Like you, I'm also a Patriots fan, but is it wrong that I want to say Bo Nix?
I don't know. It's not, and it's not wrong, especially in the context of we like Drake May for fantasy for his rushing.
Sure.
Whereas I think Bo Nix probably, I would not be shocked at all if Bo Nix was put up better passing numbers this year than Drake May, right?
And I also don't hate what I've seen from Bo Nix, and it was pretty clear. He's been very good. Is so far through preseason, in his preseason, I get it, justified the Broncos reaching for him and taking him. And we also knew, if he stays healthy, we're getting Bo Nix for every game this year. There's no reason to really take him out for if it's a historically bad stretch of play that he's displaying, then yes, you probably sit him for a game or two. But we know if he can just hold up and make them a contender, or at least just have them hanging around in games, they are going to play him every game. The problem with Drake May is Gerard Mayo has said they haven't announced who's starting yet, whether it's Brissett or Drake May. I guess with the injury to Brissett last week, you have to kind of assume it's going to be May, right?
Sorry, I was looking at a stupid question. I was a stupid comment in the chat that I put on the screen. In a world where Jerry Jeudy plays more than 5 games, okay, yes, that's what was the question, Malin? Sorry about that.
I guess because I wasn't sure if any news had broken because I've been out of the loop on the NFL news, but I know the plan I guess was for Jacoby Brissett to start the year as the Patriots quarterback. Does it seem more likely, not only because Drake May has outplayed him in the preseason, but because Brissett is also now injured, that we do see Drake May just start week 1?
That's what I'm saying. Also, Gerard Mayo has not started out the way I was hoping in terms of what he's saying and doing. I was hoping he would go through from the Belichick side of things and not really say a whole lot. Now he's saying a lot of things, and people are keeping receipts. He came out and said, what was the point of saying that we would know who the quarterback would be by tonight? Yeah. By the end of, he said by Monday night we'll know who the quarterback's going to be, and then he didn't have an answer. It's why say anything? Don't say anything. Just shut up. I don't know. I'd rather he not say anything at all. But I don't know. Rex Mothis wants to know, explain your logic at drafting my favorite non-QB Patriot Polk that early, Coop. It's pretty much just explained it with the Tank Dell thing. I say to myself, okay, CJ Stroud and Jordan Love, QBs 24 and 28 last year in fantasy drafts, ended up being better at throwing the football than we thought. What if Drake May ends up being better than throwing the football than we thought? Who's going to benefit? I like drafting Hunter Henry, but when I draft with you idiots at Fantasy Alarm, you take all my picks. You take my picks way before even I'm ready to take them. So Pat Fryermuth goes early when I draft with the Fantasy Alarm family. Hunter Henry goes early when I draft with you guys. A bunch of other players do. So I have to take my guys when I get an opportunity. This time I wanted Jalen Polk, so I took it. All right. And again, you have to remember, after cut down day and trade day, ADP is not right anymore. You know what I mean? AJ Dillon's still high in these rankings. He's got to go down.
He's on the IR, right?
John Dotson is still way up there, and we're all avoiding him, right? For that exact reason. Someone's going to auto draft him or pick him though at some point. So there's ADP correction that needs to be happen on the Wednesday after cut day, right? That is not happening. So for me, I looked at where Jalen Polk was, and after everything that went down yesterday, I said to myself, I'm just taking this guy. He could lead his team in targets. There's only so many of those guys out there. As far as so there are some of these scrappy teams, Malin. Patriots, obviously. Chargers, scrappy. Giants, scrappy. Washington. Who's your favorite kind of, the Steelers? Who's your favorite dark horse, quote unquote, bad offense to try and take stabs on? Because that's what happens is you see, like, look at the 3 Texans wide receivers go in the first, 30 picks.
Yep.
And then even the Packers, because there's some uncertainty, they go a little later. But then there's these teams where with the Patriots, I took Jalen Polke. He was the first guy off the board in what? The first wide receiver off the board. That was the 11th round. So, like, if you're getting scrappy, what's your favorite bargain bin place to shop here?
Of late, because I've drafted all my Millie Maker lineups on DraftKings, and I have a lot of FOMO because I missed out on getting a lot of these guys. But I've taken a lot of Carolina Panthers lately. New head coach, offensive line should be better. Like, we potentially see, I'm not saying Bryce Young is going to light it up, but he cannot be any worse than he was last year. Last year was like, at least, if anything, just a good test for him to just get through the year. And he didn't play every game. Some of it due to bad play, injury, whatever. But offensive line should be better. He has, more weapons at his disposal. I love Jonathan Brooks as a guy that can probably break through and be a second half league winner. Deontay Johnson should be peppered with targets. A little worried about Xavier Legette. Admittedly, not the greatest preseason for him, but new head coach and Dave Canales, and I think he is the kind of guy that can turn an offense around. So the Carolina Panthers, while I missed on them early, I have been taking them more and more in like a lot of my $3 contests. And you can get Bryce Young and stack him with some players, and it's not hard to stack the Panthers.
My sister just did her draft with her girlfriends. These girls are pretty sharp. But still, it's kind of a shallow league, shallow benches and 2 IR spots. I was kind of helping her out. She drafted Jonathan Brooks and Nick Chubb, immediately moved them to IR spots following the draft, and then added Jerome Ford and Chuba Hubbard off the wire.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was talking about playing with house money, right? Like, my goodness, dude. So that's what you can do in those shallow leagues. Retrograde is asking me about a player that I picked here, which is Ty Chandler. And it's a process of elimination thing. I mean, if you look at Aaron Jones, right, there has to be huge questions about his injury if the Packers were willing to move on from him. Because over the last 5 years, Aaron Jones has finished as the RB2, RB5, RB11, RB9, and then last year when he got hurt, RB37.
Yeah.
So for this guy to consistently be an RB1 in fantasy and been productive, and them to say, hey, we're going to move on from you for Josh Jacobs, there's got to be some problem. There's got to be something there. And the Vikings just cut Keenan Nwangwu, the de facto third running back and also kick returner. Maybe he's not good for this kick return format, but I look at that depth chart. They got 2 running backs right now. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, if one guy is going to be hurt all the time in Aaron Jones and a pass catching back, and then there's literally only one other guy, unless have they since signed anybody? As far as I know, the team has 2 running backs right now. Any team that has 2 running backs, I'm willing to draft the other one. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The only backs they have are Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, and fullback CJ Ham.
Oof.
So, yeah, I mean, if any team in the league had 2 running backs on the roster and that's it, I would be interested in the other.
Isn't that kind of the case right now with the Cleveland Browns as well? Isn't it that they only had – because they cut Foreman, but there's a chance that they bring him back because I saw Howard's video where he posted that he was like a late round flyer. And then
they're going to try.
It's just Ford and –
It's Ford – because
the running back from the Patriots that they traded to?
Pierre Strong.
Yeah.
Strong also got carted off at one point this offseason. Yeah, so it's Ford and Pierre Strong and Chubb on PUP. He cannot play until he cannot play until week 4. And Naheem Hines, I don't even know, did he get put on season-ending IR?
I thought he did.
The situation is so unfortunate because last year people forget that he had a freak off-field accident too. Remember we were talking about that early in the show? He was on a jet ski and somebody crashed into him on the jet ski and it tore his ACL.
That's
my God. I mean, just ridiculous, right? Just crazy. So,
yeah, Hines is going to be out until week 5.
Okay, so he's on the PUP, not the season ending. So they got guys. I think they're going to just try and white knuckle it with 2 backs for 4 weeks. Craziness. So yeah, I mean, does that mean we should be looking at Pierre Strong? He's
As
crazy.
someone who has 0 shares of Pierre Strong, I'm starting to feel a little nervous about having those 0 shares of him.
He's crazy fast. That is one thing that you can that is undeniable. Pierre Strong is lightning fast. I think he ran like, dude, I'm gonna look it up right now. I think he ran like a low 4.3, like insane speed. Not low 4.3. Okay, he ran a 4.37, but that's 99th percentile.
Yeah, that's still really good.
That's crazy fast. 4.37 is crazy fast. 4th round pick. Patriots gave up on him like right away.
I don't know why. I remember when they made that trade.
Either, man. I remember being excited. That was so stupid. We drafted the fastest wide receiver and the fastest running back, Al Davis style, and then gave up on one immediately. A 4th round pick gave up on him like immediately. And now Tyquan Thornton is looking, I don't know, man. Patriots, I think at some point needed a GM, a real one. That wasn't Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the situation that the Cowboys find themselves in where, your owner is your GM. And even yesterday, he kind of went off on reporters and said, like, no one else can do his job. And
yeah, he's an idiot, dude. Anybody can be a billionaire that just like meddles and makes the team worse. I mean, it's a top-down game. You know what I mean? Like it starts with ownership, and some of these teams you've seen it. If you're wondering why the Browns are always bad, if you're wondering why the Cardinals are always bad, it's because the ownership sucks. The Cardinals apparently make the players, if they want like team sweatpants, or if they want if they want a Gatorade, they have to buy it out of the vending machine.
That's insane.
The Gatorade thing is nuts because that's a health and nutrition thing. It's like these guys aren't going to be hydrated because you're making them buy Gatorade. Are you crazy? They do a survey every year on who is the worst in terms of that, and the Cardinals are always dead last. Always dead last. And it goes back to, before the salary cap, the 49ers, they bought their own plane. They were Eddie DiBertolo? Was that who it was? He would just spoil the hell out of these guys. And everybody wanted to go play with them. I remember reading about the Patriots had a tight end, Russ Francis, that basically he just was like, I'm not playing for the Patriots. And then they traded him to the 49ers back when nobody traded. And then he was like, I'll play for these guys because, it's just like team. You're never going to attract free agents if you get that. If you're that team and if your owner's an idiot and he hires idiots to run the team like Mike McCarthy. So yes, Jerry Jones is to blame for it. End of rant. But it starts at the very top. And the very best thing you could do is just be a billionaire that stands back and puts the franchise in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
The least you hear about these owners, the better an owner they are. Like
it's kind of the case with Seattle's owner, right?
I was just gonna say the conglomerate that owns, it's like the Microsoft guy, and like he's just never in the news, and that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Was that Paul Allen? I think.
Paul Allen, yeah. It's like Microsoft shares billionaire. So we've got some hype picks I want to ask you about as we wrap up the show here. Give me an in or out, and you can elaborate as much as you feel like it. Jordan Whittington, in or out?
Probably out, but I get why some people are in.
Yeah, I'm out, man. He's still an injury away. Like the
condition. Is he returning? Is he going to be returning kicks?
I don't know with him, but like Demarcus Robinson's still going to play. They have 2 wide receivers ahead of him. What's the path? What's the path to upside? Somebody tell me. Who picked Jordan Whittington? Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the Discord.
Here's one thing that I did here. So it's like Puka Nacua had a fully healthy season last year, but I have heard some people say that are in the know about how BYU operated. And they said like during college, he always had something that was bugging him. He would occasionally have to come off the field, miss an entire half, or he would miss a game. So last year, his rookie year was actually kind of the outlier for Puka Nacua. It was a full healthy season for the most part, but for the most, like during college, something was always bugging him, nagging him. There was always something. Right? And so it's like now you can possibly like maybe we see more than normal. Like maybe this is the year where Nacua regresses simply because like he just returns to that nagging injury status that he had in college. So if that's the case, then you kind of upgrade Robinson, Whittington. But then, overall, you're kind of big braiding it at a certain point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so Crockett Martin took him. He's a sharp player. Derek wants to know why he won this draft. I mean, if Nick Chubb comes back and he's Nick Chubb, then you very well may have. The big thing, I know you didn't even take Nick Chubb, the team after you did. What do you got? Adonai Mitchell, Bucky Irving, Isaiah Likely, Justin Fields, Kamani Vidal. Man, you either came in very first place or very last place, Derek. I think you got a lot of upside there, but you need some things to go a certain way, right? Like you need Fields to take over for Russ. You need Mark Andrews to go down, Isaiah Likely to take over. But I mean, if those things go the right way, entirely possible. And the number one thing you did to potentially win this draft is you became a Fantasy Alarm member so that you could draft with us. If you want to draft with us and if you want to play with us, if you want to get everything, all the cheat sheets, all the info, Malin probably answers the most questions in the Discord. I'm up there though. I'm up there. You're definitely number one. I have my own channel.
It's most only because I'm in there every Sunday morning.
Every Sunday morning
when I'm site producing and doing stuff for the site. So it's every Sunday, I'm in there and trying to hit up and answer every question that I possibly can.
Yeah, love that. So if you want to get in with us, go over to fantasyalarm.com, use promo code. Actually, try this. If you want to become a Fantasy Alarm member, go to fantasyalarm.com, go to the annual subscription or any of the packages, the draft, whichever one you want. If you just want the cheat sheet, if you want it, try promo code Cooper. Malin, don't tell anyone I'm still kind of mentioning this because I think it might actually work. And you can get 20% off any of the products, and that goes for the annual one. The annual one is 40% off. I think you get 20% off on top of that. So try it, see if it still works. I think it actually might. Don't tell Howard. Howard's not here today, so whatever. Sorry.
Howard's moving, man. He's too preoccupied.
He's preoccupied, dude. So try that, see if it works. I think it might. Either way, the deals are all 40% off for the year is the best deal that we typically have. This is kind of a special thing on top. So give that a try, see if it works, and get set up there. And if you want, in order to play with us, you also have to get set up with Underdog. Use promo code ALARM. They'll match 50% of whatever you deposit up to $250. And let me tell you, I wish that deal was around when I first got in, because when I first joined, I think the deal was like a free entry into Best Ball Mania, which is like $25.
How far we've come.
I play so many of these. If you told me that I could deposit $500 and they would give me $250, I've deposited well over $500 I actually won a decent amount last year, so I don't need to deposit any this year, but I've definitely deposited well over that. I would love if they would give me $250. So that's a great deal going on right now. Again, they'll match 50% of whatever you deposit with promo code ALARM. But that's it for us. One last thing before you go out, Malin, tell everybody what you got working on here. And of course, Rex wants to know your thoughts on NASCAR.
Oh man, last week's NASCAR race was great. It was cool to see Harrison Burton get his first career win, gets into the playoffs that way, and he was even better because his dad was actually on the broadcast. So very cool seeing. His dad was in the booth on the call.
That was Michigan last week.
No, Michigan was 2 weeks ago. Last week was Daytona.
Last week was Daytona.
Yeah, so very cool to
Daytona.
See. Yeah, and honestly, the kid doesn't have a ride for next year, so it's great to see him get a win. But NFL starts next week. I've got the NFL DFS DST coach coming out sometime next week. I know the Showdown playbook for Thursday is set to go live on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So you got 2 days to dissect that. And then Friday's playbook, a random Friday game in Brazil, but I love that. That'll probably be out Wednesday as well. And then we are just rolling right into week 1. We're going to crush it.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm so fired up, man. I'm ready for DFS. I'm ready for all that, man. For me, you can catch me on SiriusXM Thursdays and Fridays, 6 to 8 p.m. and all year long on Sunday morning. Here's what we're doing. Any questions you ask in the Discord will be answered in the Discord. Malin will be in there just going nuts. We'll be doing 10 to 11 on Sirius and then 11 to 12 on YouTube. Right here on this channel, John and Pemba and I answering as many questions as we can, often going past 11 o'clock. We do our best to get as many in as we can, but definitely hang out with us. It's going to be another great year with the Fantasy Alarm family. And thank you guys so much for joining these best ball drafts and hanging out and chatting with us because it's been so much fun. We do them all off season long, so we'll be back at it again. This is the last live one. We're going to try and mix in one more slow draft, but that